Okay, may I welcome you all on behalf of Aura, the entire team, President Yogesh Vadwana, Secretary Amit Shukla. Welcome. It's wonderful seeing you all, especially taking your time out. And let's get started. We are running a little late. So may I invite Mr. Ayaazkhan, sir, to share his views. Sir.
Know whether it is the done thing, but I'm sure you'll excuse me for doing which I'm not expected to do anyway, as usual. I looked at my mobile, which I dislike immensely, believe it or not, at 3 o'clock at night, and to my horror I read the giant Canaria his mother had passed away yesterday. May I request 1 minute silence and prayer for her soul? Thank you. Whenever I went to Pune, I lived with them, and I have such wonderful memories of the Canaria family, the mother. I remember one day telling her how delighted I was at the bonding of the family and the happy atmosphere when all brothers and their families lived together. And she said something very interesting, which I have never forgotten and which I remember today. He said, "Sir, આ બધુંય ગોવાળ પર નિર્ભર છે. It is the shepherd who makes it happen." And I've never forgotten that. She was complimenting her eldest son, Jayant, for being such a fine head of the family, as it were. તો આ જ્યારે મને યાદ આવે છે તો મને એમ થાય છે કે we might as well look into another shepherd, the shepherd of ORA, and how he is turning out to be. But I'll at present leave it to you to mull it over before I talk of the most important person that I know, and his name is Ayaazkhan. As always, I want to speak about myself, and you hit it, poor chaps. I remember early 1960s, Sir was going home on one of his leave, visiting home, Mr. Rogerson, of course, and he always used to come and stay in the Taj a day or two before he left. In the holidays, I happened to be at my sister's place, Bella Court, just 7 buildings away from the Taj facing the sea. And I remember going to pay my respects to Sir. It was then, 1962, 64, I don't remember the year, when he started thinking of Old Boys Association. He was just sort of trying to see what this little young boy could think. And when he returned from London and stayed 2 more days in Bombay, he got together the senior Old Boys in the Taj again. I think it was Rol Thakur Sahab, Praveen Singh Ji, Sukhdev Singh Ji, and so on, where he discussed the idea of Old Boys Association again. And they seemed to approve. So soon, there was a meeting in RKC in the hall with a crowd about this much, old boys, working out the modalities and how important it was and how important it wasn't and how we should go about it. And in the midst of that, somebody decided, And he said, after all, the president's job is an honorary one. You honor a person to make him the president, because all the executive work, administration had to be done by ex officio, the principal. So somebody said, I have an idea. Let's make the oldest old boy the president. And everybody approved, except for one silly old chap sitting there, very young, very timid at that time. I put up my hand and I said, sirs, I know that the oldest old boy living, oldest old boy at present, is my very distant relative. And they everybody said, yes, who? And when I named him, he said, oh my God, no, as it were. You see, just a few years back, the British government had found him not a suitable ruler and had disposed him and actually sent him to Andaman Islands. So we were saved from having an old boy president who had at least not been approved by the British. Many years later, when one old boy was finishing his term and we were looking for another, somebody slipped in his own name. You have already been president for longer term than the most. Now mind you, I am saying all this because yesterday these fellows insisted that I speak about the history of RKC. The fault lies with them, not with me, all right? Anyway, frankly, the RKC Old Boys Association, sir loved the term old boy. Even OB, he said, Old Boys Enterprise, when he got OB. He, as far as I remember, the first president of Old Boys Association was Thakur Sahab of the Road, a very, very powerful man, very intelligent man, and once he spoke, nobody dared disagree with him. He was followed by another highly intellectual, wonderful personality, very soft-natured, but had the same kind of authoritative personality, Praveen Singh Ji of Rati, who was followed by, if I remember right, His Highness Vakil, Pratap Singh Ji. All superb human beings, and we were very, very lucky to have. But mind you, all the basic work of Old Boys Association had to be done by the principal, ex officio secretary. So everything was fine all the time for years and years and years, till Mr. Rogerson left, Miss Cooper left, Maipat left, and one silly chap happened to become the principal. And that was the time when there was somebody better was required, and we were very lucky that that time proactive precedents happened. General Chandra Singh Ji, for instance, Sukhdev Singh Ji, for instance. General Chandra Singh Ji, apart from all other things, decided on Peter Rogerson Memorial Trust. Sukhdev Singh Ji added to that, and just then when we had the earthquake, they both agreed that we should spend the money repairing the school. जो school है ना हो तो memorial से नो. And the school is now standing hale and hearty thanks to their bold action. I must also go further to Shivraj, my friend, and Yogi. Shivraj Singh was the one who turned the Old Boys Association into a registered body, and we are enjoying the benefit of all that. જ્યારે મેં પેલા બે નામ સજેસ્ટ કર્યા એની વાત કરી તો એક મને મારા ફાધરનો શેર યાદ આવી ગયો. તમે ન બોલવાનું પણ બોલી ગયા રુસ્વા. તમે ન બોલવાનું પણ બોલી ગયા રુસ્વા. ક્યારેક તો પૂર્વ તૈયારી કરવી હતી પ્રવચન માટે, ક્યારેક તો પૂર્વ તૈયારી કરવી હતી પ્રવચન માટે. Alright? Now, I have two claims, which I am rather proud of, or probably not. One is that I have been attached to the Old Boys Association and Aura from its inception till today. Pretty proud of that. And also the fact, not very proud of that my contribution to the progress and development of Aura is nil. Absolutely. All right? Now we come back to the shepherd, Gowar. I think we must first clap, and that will tell us. Look at what he has done. And of course, helped by so many RKCN. He has completely changed the idea of what OBA all was. You know, the car was speeding one way and he has made it fly like that. Then he is so full of ideas. He implements most of them very well. He accepts his criticism with a smile and he goes on. ને મને તો એને મળવામાં પણ બીક લાગે છે. Because he comes rapidly with the 2,000 thoughts at the same time. Now, you know, what to agree with, what not to agree with, and like that. So, superb job done, Yogesh. And we are delighted, and I think we are very, very lucky. I don't know whether he does any work for his own work, and I don't know what relationship he has with his wife now. You know, you're risking all sorts of things, but we are very, very happy indeed. I don't want to say more, but I do want to say he used to talk to me about this before this, and about his ideas. And I used to say, "Vato kare rakho bhai, vato karvama kai." But he is one of those odd chaps who did what he talked about. And that's superb indeed. Most RKCians have joined him, appreciated him. They contribute in their own way. All right? The numbers have grown all over. The number of these things, with this help of this, he has created a kind of a small world like that. But if I may, I might say that there is one particular WhatsApp group which is only meant for RKC administrative reasons. And I have been quite surprised that some old boys have not been able to resist sending messages which are not a part of it. Yogesh has requested not to do. Vijay Chauhan, who is very active, I must say, has requested not to do. Senior boy Porus Vadia has been writing that this is not for it. I wonder why this keeps on happening. But now they have started a different kind of WhatsApp group for that kind of thing. So I hope this will not be misused. It doesn't behove RKCians to do anything like that. Luckily, I don't think any RKCian has said, "Ema maru mara mate su." What do I gain out of it? RKCians are, I think, not so involved in that kind of question. But I might say, આપણા માટે નથી, આપણે આપવાનું છે. When we seek something, we become poorer. When we give something, we become richer. And I want to now talk about a person who's getting richer by the day, or at least by the year. and his name is Jose John. What a lovely setup here. And for him to give us this hall year after year for no charge at all. Can you think of that? In these days, somebody being so generous and so kind. We don't know how to thank you, Jose. And I might say the trend began by his father, and he's following what his father did. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So, all right. People keep on saying, what does memorial lecture mean? And there are all kinds of opinions. But I might say that I have received a message from Perrin to read out. And if you don't mind, I would do that. Will you please find it for me? મને આ આવડતું નથી હો, મારા હાથમાં છે. Perrin. Please wish the organizers and speakers the very best for the Cooper Memorial Lecture. Also, please convey my deepest appreciation for their efforts in honoring my sister. Perhaps in future, they may consider using this same forum in my sister's name to honor other RKC staff, principals, or explore topics of educational interest, e.g. corporal punishment, responsibilities of heads of departments, principals, etc. Inviting staff from other educational institutions also. Just some thoughts to widen the scope of the forum and make it of educational value. This is her request. It is for the president and the committee members and all to decide what to do, what not to do. I must also, though I don't like it much, again applaud the president for the selection of the speakers today. Tejas. You are in for a treat, I'm telling you. Sorry that Rani Sahib has not been able to turn up, but these chaps, mane page lagwanu man thai chhe. They're very, very good. What Tejas writes, what Tarik is doing, and their equation with Madam was different. So we are going to hear different things. Looking at them and standing here, I remember in 1960-61, my principal of St. Xavier's, Herbert D'Souza, made one extraordinary statement. Lamba સાથે ટૂંકો જાય તો મરે નહીં તો માંદો થાય. લાંબા સાથે ટૂંકો જાય તો મને હવે at the age of 85 to invite illness is not a very sensible thing. It also reminds me of a very wise man who told me years back, Ayaz, if somebody asks you to speak, ask yourself, is your speech going to be better than your silence? If not, keep quiet. After so many years, I've decided it's better to keep quiet. Thank you so, so very much.
I request our secretary, Amit, to introduce Tarik. I just want to tell a little incident yesterday of how brave I am. I went to the airport to receive these guys. Isn't that a brave thing with the canopies falling all over? Please.
Shall we? Okay. Initially, when Yogesh and myself and Punja and we were thinking about planning the event, it came in that, I would introduce Tarik. And I figured, okay, I'll introduce like any other individual. But when I got under the skin, that's when I began to realize, how tall a man Tarik is. And to start with, even before I did my research, I sent out an email to Tarik at a late stage if I can have some information about him. And I'll start with just what he shared. I am as on TarikCurrimbhoy.com. I'm defined by my work, my architecture. And this is what I do. He sent me a couple of pictures of his works. A metal structure almost weighing over a ton that rotates at 50 miles an hour and costs a fortune. That's the kind of work that he does. His education, Pratt Institute, Fine Arts, Cornell Master of Arts, Pratt Institute, again Master of Architecture, Ayaazkhan Scholarship at Harvard and Cornell Scholarship at Pratt, and went on to teach at both these institutions. Always ran my firm, Currimbhoy and Associates in New York. Today my work is showing in USA, UK, Italy, Switzerland, Dubai, India, Hong Kong. My journey is an art journey. This is what Tarik sent about him. It was so brief. Minimal like his designs, practically right down to the point. But I think he was more modest. I think he took the lesson on modesty at RKC a tad too seriously, I think, to be so modest. Because once I learned a little bit more about him, and I'll share a few pointers. He comes from an illustrious family. His great-grandfather from both his sides, from his parents' side, was Sir Currimbhoy Ibrahim, who practically took over a lot of the business from once the Sassoons left. David Sassoon, in case people know, he was precursor to the Tatas in Bombay, then Bombay or Mumbai. And once they left, it's his family that kind of took over a lot of the industries and the businesses. Tarik was born in Mumbai, India, currently lives and works in New York, travels to India a lot. His father was a playwright who would visit America where his plays were staged on Broadway, and he would bring back toys for Tarik that had to be constructed. This is where Tarik learned to live, to build and design things. And considering it's so difficult to kind of put in words and describe what someone like Tarik does, I took the liberty to take a paragraph from his website, and which is drafted by Charlotte Kotick, who is a curator emerita at the Brooklyn Museum, and describes Tarik as, I quote, classically trained in the arts, industrial design, and architecture. Tarik is a trifecta of artistic progress. In both architecture and sculpture, Tarik searches for tranquility, simplicity, and tactility, expressed in purity of both form and material, inspired by ancient architecture of building blocks, resting on each other in tension and compression. Tarik's sculptures are stories of structure and gravity, held together under compression in stone and metal. He has mastered the juxtaposition of the old and the new, using handcrafting and ancient casting techniques to create sculptures that are modern and minimal in form. His design work has been published internationally, and his sculptures may be found across the world in public spaces as well as corporate and private collections. Tarik has created and co-designed some monumental sculptures and buildings, including the headquarters of McKinsey & Company in Gurgaon, the eclipse of the Omni Sculpture Park in upstate New York, the Raincatcher and observatory installed in a private estate in New York, a 30,000 square feet Italian Renaissance-style mansion in Jaipur, and the Aura skyscraper in New York. His exhibitions have been across the globe. The list goes on and on. Truly, this gives us a sense of where Tarik comes from. And it's my utmost pleasure to invite Tarik to say a few words about Madam.
The truth is, I didn't know this existed until I heard it from you.
I'd like to hear from the other side, if you don't mind. I need somebody short.
Sir, I think. Steps this side.
Thank you, Tejas.
Heard it today. And thank you for inviting me. Now, it all started at RKC. Now, we all, like all of us, last night we got together at Harendra's place. He said, we're going to drink to Madam. So we started our tribute to Madam at 6 o'clock in the evening. We ended at 2 o'clock in the morning, only to find that I had actually caught a New York flight to London, to Bombay, missed one of my flights, arrived late. However, I'm speaking under a hangover, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I didn't know it was about me. I thought it was about Madam. So, however, let me go back in time. And Mr. Ayaazkhan, it's such an honor to be here, to see you, to hear you speak, and I'm grateful for that. Now, it's interesting, we're a small family, and we go back years and years and years. I've never spent 10 years of my life in one place, other than RKC. So when you say, where's the North Pole? The needle of the compass points to RKC. And what are we? We are really bits and pieces of our teachers, of our experiences at school. Yeah? Now, it's interesting that my father worked for Burmishel with Mr. Sukhdev Singh and Bhagwan Singh Jadeja, who were my guardians at that time. And my father was transferred to Rajkot. So we all came to Rajkot in 1963. Mr. Rogerson, Madam was the lady I met. I fell in love with her. She was like more to me today than my mother is, actually. She gave me the senses to feel my world in the darkness. And that's the truth. Now, my mother ended up as being a librarian at RKC. My father went on, and then he was a playwright. He was an oil man during the day, and at night he used to write plays. And his plays were staged on Broadway in New York, so he took off. With my mother, and my brother and I became boarders at RKC. My sister was sent off to Bombay. However, coming to Madam, I met Madam, and it's so interesting that this lady was larger than life. Now, when you look at our education, it's really broken up into two. There is fact, and there's fiction. Fact is 2 + 2 is 4. Fiction is your imagination and what you read between the lines. It's like Harrison Ford saying that in Star Wars, saying, "May the Force be with you." Now, what does the Force mean? If you're standing there, the sun's shining on you, you're casting a shadow. Now, what you see is the light shining on you, and then you look at that visually. But the truth is, the romance is in the shadow because it holds you to the earth. And what I learned at RKC was really the discovery of that shadow. And I learned it. She was like telling me, okay, now you got to, the Prime Minister's coming, you got to shake her hand, you got to do this, you got to do that, and give her a present. Now, I got hoarse. I kept saying it, and I saying it, and I saying it, and I couldn't talk. Now, when the blue car came with Indira Gandhi and all my class friends were next to me, everybody started to shout, celebrating Indira Gandhi's presence. Fortunately, my hoarse voice couldn't be heard, and I was let go. But it was interesting that this lady would be by my side and tell me, this is right and this is wrong, and make me read between the lines. And I miss her, and I salute her for that. Now, many years later, I go ahead and get into my own career. I don't know if I should talk about myself, actually. But what my career was, actually, I went from RKC, I went to Xavier's for a year, and then I went to Pratt. Now, Pratt Institute is an art school, and where they teach you to see. Now, when they teach you to see, I met another madam out there called Rowena Reed Costello, where she says, okay, you look at a form and you look at the space that the form is in, and then you try to understand that form. And when the form says, look at me, you look at it. And when the form says, listen, ouch, that means you're not there. It's screaming, and that means you're doing something wrong. Now, basically what it was is like the training of the eye. And what is the training of the eye about? It's the training of the senses. And that sense of touch, of feel, of sight was my education. And from there I went to Cornell, and I got my Masters of Arts from there. However, when I look back at my life, it's really RKC in many ways, because in many silent, strong ways, because it gave me the ability to be able to walk on the street of New York City with my portfolio. Now, being in New York is like being at the gambling table. You got to leave when you're a winner. I'm not a winner, but I'm still there after 50 years. However, from Cornell, I got a grant in the arts, and I dedicated that to my teacher, Rowena Reed Costello, because she taught me how to see. By that time, she had passed away, and today I'm a trustee of hers in New York. And then from there, I went back to Pratt, got my Masters of Architecture, and then went to Harvard, MIT, and then started my own firm. And I was very lucky that I represented India in the William de Kooning show. William de Kooning is an abstract expressionist who's celebrating his 70th birthday, so I represented my country. And what happened is that in America at that point of time, they used to give musicians and artists a green card without any labor clearance. So Zakir Hussain from the music side got it, and I got it from the art side, However, it didn't matter because it didn't raise me anywhere. I still had to do something for a living, and life goes on. As an architect, you make no money. And then suddenly, 29 years ago, I won the Best of American Design. However, I still couldn't make any money. I started a company after my little girl that I adopted from Bombay. Her name was Tarana. So I called the company Sanat Tarana. And it got me all the press. I got all published everywhere, but paisa nahi hai mila. Then what happened is, I remember coming back to India and going to the city of Jaisalmer. Now you see, when you look at RKC, you see those Gothic arches, and the arches have a certain vocabulary, and the way the arches are, it's really a distribution of weight. And and now it's interesting. Now the architecture is Indo-Sasanic, and which in essence is really khichdi. You're taking something from the Romans, which is a Roman arch. You're taking something from the Gothic, which is a Gothic arch, and you're creating a whole new vocabulary called Indo-Sasanic. But when you look beyond that, it's weight and it's balance. And that got me to the city of Jaisalmer. And I couldn't believe the city of Jaisalmer because it had no joints. It was based on pure weight. And that fascinated me, being an architect, actually. And then on the other hand, I loved the idea of these flying buttresses that supported an arch. And, it gets into you. Again, it's like an obsession. Like Mrs. Chenoy. Like talking to Madam and smelling the cologne for 7-Eleven that is with you. And then what happened is I started doing these little pieces under compression. So Naina, my wife, is saying, paisa nahi hai, and you're doing all these big pieces, and my pieces weighed a ton. So all our money would go. She said, you'll never make any money. So I said, listen, that's our life. And by that time, we had our little girl in our life here. However, destiny takes you, and then suddenly, in my profession, I got to meet a lot of people. I got to meet Indra Noori. I got to meet all these guys from Google. I met everybody. And my client was McKinsey, the business consultancy firm. So they were my clients for 19 years. I built buildings that are really landmarks, and one near the Gurgaon airport that's being demolished now. However, I met Nitin Noria. Nitin Noria was the dean of Harvard Business School. Now Tata's had donated some money, and they'd got this beautiful quadrangle at Harvard. And Nitin Noria I met through Ajit Jain. Ajit Jain was supposed to inherit the Warren Buffett empire until he got muscular dystrophy. Now, I go and meet Nitin Noria. I show him this piece under compression. He said, Tarik, this is the piece I want. So I got it, and he said he wanted it made in America. So I said, karenge America mein. So I got the price of it. It came up to about almost about $500,000. And then he said, you've got it, I got the money, but before I can give you the check, I've got to be endorsed by the rest of Harvard. They do everything by consensus. The rest of Harvard decided that they didn't know me, they didn't want me, they wanted a Picasso. So that was that. However, what's happened in the art world today is a hedge fund money manager hires a gallery to choose people, like say 10 horses in a stable. And these 10 horses are taken to races. Races in Miami, races in Hong Kong, races in Italy, in London, and they make you run. Now, as you run, your worth keeps getting higher and higher and higher. So today I'm in that circuit. However, it's difficult not knowing business and not knowing how people respond. You just respond to what people tell you, and based on life actually. And then you use your senses to sort of maneuver your way through. However, I'm in the system. My voice is of weights and balances, and this piece that you spoke about actually is a piece in front of the Y House. The Y House is an American landmark house. The commission came from Venezuela. The beauty of being in New York City is from New York you can look at the rest of the world. And from India, from Bombay, you can't actually. So it opens up many more doors to you. Yeah? And this guy wanted a 16-foot sculpture, and he wanted it in front of the White House. It was very windy. So this piece is like a Lexus, basically, and it's made to order. It's a commission, which is what I do. I do all these pieces that are weigh half a ton, like Cadillacs and a weight of that kind. And then I put it, and then when the wind comes, it spins. And it spins because of inertia, and it spins because of the way it's designed. So that's my trajectory, basically, with the idea of stillness, of tranquility, of peace. Now, when Madam came to visit me in New York City, she stayed with me. First is I had a problem with my wife. My wife said, why do you want Madam to stay with you? We have only a small space in New York. And now I live in a factory building. And the factory building is near the New York Times. So it's about 2,000 square feet, and it was where the buttons were made of fur coats. So I tell Naina, listen, you don't know who Madam is. You just wait till you meet her. Yeah? Now, Madam, when we were in school, was like a giant. Now, when I kept seeing her, she was still a giant, but I didn't know. This time she is a short, petite, graceful lady, actually. Yeah? She walks into my house and she takes over Sana Tarana's bedroom, because now Sana is sleeping with us. And she asked me about plays, she asked me about what I did, and she asked me about my work, and then she connected me with a friend, a relative of hers who was in Chicago, who was an architect. Now, being an architect, I'm the dangerous architect, because I don't say 2 + 2 is 2, I say 2 + 2 is 8. So whoever hires me is always taking a chance. Yeah. However, she said to me I want to see New York City. So I said, listen, I'll take you in my car. We'll go and see the High Line. The High Line is this walkway above the city that was built in about 1900, actually. And it was built, they saved, arms and ammunition was once manufactured there, and it went on a train across the High Line, and it reduced the traffic below that street, which was 11th Avenue. And right there are some of the most fantastic buildings in the world being built. So she went, I showed her the Shigaru Ban shutter house. She wanted to know everything about the shutter house. She got out of the car, touched it. She saw the Frank Gehry building. She saw the Shenandoah house and Jean Nouvel's place, and she asked me all these questions. Remarkable lady, because she's so curious at that age, and she wanted to know everything. She wanted to know about Naina, my wife, who writes Indian fiction. My daughter is now she's in the fashion world. She wanted to know everything about her. And amazed me, because I felt that, I was so privileged to have a part of my upbringing, to have a part of my life here. She gave me the alphabets with which I speak with today. And it's not only me, it's Kamlesh and all our class here. And I realized today that together we are seen as a whole, not as one part, but a tapestry that's beautifully crafted by her. I'd like to end by a statement she made. She used to always tell me, actually, about an American poet called Henry Longfellow. And what he said is, lives of great men all remind us we can make our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. And she really has left it. And we are the voices that speak to her. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity of being able to speak to all of you and share my experiences. And thank you, sir.
Vakil. His grandfather, Kapil Ram Vakil, was a Tata scholar who set up the Mithapur salt works. I mean, that is immense, that is big, that's a nationalist thing, right? His dad, Saratbhai Vakil, set up the Saurashtra chemicals for the Birlas in Porbandar. So the family was associated with Tatas and Birlas. He is associated with Godrej today. And, well, these are all class families, industrialists. Unlike the crass ones whose weddings are going on of late. Whose one of the most expensive residences in the world, the place where it stands on that orphanage that once belonged to Tarik's family in Tejas. Tejas is a CEO at Shitak Incorporation, Austin in Texas, USA. I'll give you, which is now HP, Tandem Computers, which is now again HP, and Bertelsmann, there is Arvato, right? Serial entrepreneurship experience with 5 technology startups, early stage companies as founder, CEO, or sales marketing executive. Current company. Consumer lending, SaaS business to fintech industry leader. And most of this is Greek to me, I'm just reading out what is done. Previously sold consumer lending, okay, we've been through that. Global experience, 3 years EMEA Vice President of Dell. At Compact, Tandem and Sequent. માંડાવડમાં ખેતી કરવા આવો તો ખબર પડે. બાકી રહી ગયું. 40 plus years of experience in selling and marketing technology and software solutions. 3 times recruited. Got to have some standing in society to be there. And when you get back, you will please inquire about Trump's health on our behalf. He's just been shot. And our prayers that, I mean, he survived. Okay, experience. Shitak Incorporation, Austin, Texas, United States. CEO, May 2023. Present, 1 year and 3 months. Bearing Capital Fund, India, Austin, TX and Gift City, India. Senior Advisor, October 2022. Present, 1 year and 10 months. So I'm praying and requesting and cajoling and begging him to buy a flat in Gift City. You know for what? Permission Networks Incorporated, Austin, Texas, United States, founder and CEO, February 2020 to May 2023, 3 years and 4 months. Finance Genius Incorporated, Austin, Texas, CEO, November 2016 to May 2019, 2 years and 7 months. I mean, that's really laudable. All these things are. હા તો જન્મ કુંડળી આપી છે પણ બધું નહીં કહો અહીંયા. Illinois Institute of Technology, Master of Science, MS Computer Science in Artificial Intelligence and Robotics, 1897. 1987. રાતે 2 વાગે હુતેલા ક્યારેક બીજે દી સવારે ભૂલ થઈ જાય. University of Iowa, Master of Business Administration, MBA in Marketing Information Systems, 1980. University of Madras, Bachelor of Science, Chemical Engineering, 1978. So that's Tejas Vakil for you. Our dear friend Arcasian, please.
Is he married? I am. Ti Mahoday, Yogesh Vadwana, आदरणीय पूज्य Ayaazkhan sir और Aura सदन के सदस्यों, sorry, I was transported back 52 years to the Hindi debate stage at Rajkumar College, and I've been waiting for all these years, half a century, to make this introduction in Hindi. So, thank you for the kind, resume के दो तो हूँ माची लेते, but thank you. I'm delighted to be here when Yogesh asked me if I would speak and attend this. I did have an invitation to this fancy wedding in Mumbai. मैं फाड़ी ने फेंकी दी तो मैं किधर के मारा आया हूँ उसे. It's more important for me to be here. So I didn't have an invitation. But then I asked Yogesh, what should I speak about? So he said, Miss Cooper Memorial Lecture, so you should talk about her and maybe your experiences at Rajkumar College. But I was concerned because it's an impressive list of speakers. I was following Ayaazkhan sir, my good friend Tarik, Bharat Avlani, the master storyteller who was supposed to be here, who couldn't make it. But being a techie, I said, okay, I know how to get some help, and I have a little bit of experience in artificial intelligence, so I said, I'm going to ask this tool, the most famous right now instantiation of generative AI, right? So I asked ChatGPT. I said, give me a 10-minute speech for the Rati Cooper Memorial Lecture of the Rajkumar College Old Boys Association gathering in Ahmedabad. Now, unfortunately, ChatGPT gave me a very disappointing answer. Okay, it gave me a very generic, alumni association speech with full of platitudes, about how happy I am to be here and gathering of old friends and seeing new faces on the old faces and how RKC made me what I am and all. On top of that, it made Miss Cooper out to be an alumna of Rajkumar College. Now, if you all know, I'm sure most of you are following generative AI, how it works. It's a very interactive thing, so you can train it. And so it's all in how you ask questions of generative AI, right? So I said, okay, let me have a dialogue with ChatGPT. And by the way, this dialogue, there's a whole new class of jobs that's been created called prompt engineers. And prompt engineers are people who learn how to ask generative AI tools questions, and they learn how to craft the questions so that they get the replies that they need. Well, I thought that we learned that by learning English at RKC. Right? Now I'm also a prompt engineer. I guess RKC made me that. So anyway, so I thought I would have a dialogue with ChatGPT, and so I'm going to share with you some of the information that I gave ChatGPT to train this before, it gives me the speech. So obviously I have to start with, the person that this is named after, Miss Cooper. Now, you will have heard, you heard from Tarik and others in the past, and it's a lot has been written about, Miss Cooper's, caring, her education, how much she meant to everyone, her kindness. I have to say the first 4 or 5 years that I spent at Rajkumar College, I saw none of that. Not through any fault of hers, entirely because of me, okay? I was terrified of her. I was not a very good student, and in the first few years, I used to always get into trouble with her. Some of you will remember who were in our batch. In 3rd and 4th grade, every month, Assembly Hall, we had to stand up and they would announce the results. And Harendra Rathod, who is our host and who isn't here, but he was always at the top of the class and be celebrated. And then a couple of us who were always bringing the tail end, we were made to go stand against the wall. The wall of shame. We had to face the wall, and I think I have examined more tiles and cracks in the walls of the assembly hall at Rajkumar College than anyone, in 2 or 3 years. but my relationship with Miss Cooper got a little better. My academics got a little better. Just a couple of incidents. I was probably in 9th grade, and one day on a Friday or a Saturday night, late at night, after lights out, 3 or 4 of us wanted to play cards. And now in the darkness, you couldn't play cards, so somebody found a lamp. So we started playing cards in a lamp, no bulb gear. The bulb burnt out. I had the bright idea, some of where, I don't know if it's still there, but where the bell, where the Punjawala used to ring the bell, that, next to the entrance to the assembly hall, that little porch had a light hanging there. And they used to turn it off at night. So we go, let's go take that bulb. So one of the other friends and I, we took a chair and went there. Unfortunately, even with the chair, we couldn't reach the bulb. It was dark. So we said, fine, we abandoned that. And as we were about to leave, there was a voice in the darkness that came, boys, turn on the light, please. It was Miss Cooper. She was out for a walk with Mrs. Colley. Fortunately, we turned on the light came on. She could see that we had not actually been able to take the light bulb. Of course, she gave us a dressing down and wanted to know why we were doing it, so we fessed up. And she says, okay, I'll deal with you guys tomorrow. Now, I learned a very valuable lesson with that incident, that I should always carry a tall enough ladder. But she actually didn't, we weren't punished, but a couple of days later, when I ran into her with a twinkle in her eye, she asked me, how the lamp was doing and whether we had found a bulb. And she must have had the same thought, because she said, next time, make sure you get a tall enough chair or a ladder. And then the last year, a couple of, one of the things obviously Ms. Cooper was very particular about was in ensuring that everyone really used the English language appropriately, the correct syntax, correct grammar, pronunciation, things of that sort. So a couple of months before my ISC exam, some conversation, she was there, and she corrected the use of a word. I had used a word inappropriately, and so she chided me for that. So by then, I was in relatively good terms. So I said, but Miss Cooper, if you remember, there's a scene from the movie My Fair Lady where Rex Harrison as Henry Higgins is talking about, how people are not using the English language correctly. But I said he gives the example of the French, saying that the French don't really care as long as they pronounce it properly. I said, but I pronounced this word perfectly. She looked at me and said, fine, you write that in your ISC and you will spend one more year with me trying to impress me with your pronunciation. So I won't say a whole lot more about Ms. Cooper, because everyone knows a lot about her. Obviously, I owe an immense debt of gratitude to her for the way that she approached teaching, and certainly her love of language is something that I've carried with me. So I put that in ChatGPT. Then, of course, I had to talk about, my years. I spent 10 years almost at RKC, or 9.5. And the people that had, the teachers that had most impact first were the housemasters. So let me talk of my 3 housemasters. By sheer, I don't know whether it was planned or not, but out of my 9.5 years, 7.5 years were spent under Mr. Siddhan. 5 in prep school and 2.5 in senior school. Now, I can talk a lot about Mr. Siddhan. I put a lot of information in ChatGPT, but what some of the things that some people here may not know, but in the first couple of years, he had a terrace in the prep school next to his home. He used to have groups of people, kids gather, or boys gather, and I learned songs. He learned to, he used to like singing. So I learned like songs like John Brown's Whiskey Bottle Number 99 and My Darling Clementine and songs of that kind, from Mr. Siddhan, which a lot of people, didn't know about him. He also taught us to fire air rifles in the range right behind prep school. I learned a lot from him, but there's one scar that he has left on me. My last year in prep school, I don't know why I was there for the 5th year, because I was the only one in the entire prep school who was in 6th grade. Everybody was 5th grade or lower. Now, you would think if I'm in 6th grade, I'm the senior most, I should be the head boy. Oh, no, I was the assistant head boy. Now, my good friend Pankaj Waghir was the head boy, but it was a little embarrassing, that I'm the senior most person in terms of a class, but I'm not the head boy. So right after that, after my 5th year, I got to go to Ayaazkhan sirs. I won't embarrass him too much, but I will say this, that it was during the 1 year that I spent with Sir that I made a transition from being a somewhat mediocre student to a fairly decent student. And I actually have my reports. The first report, the first term, which was really poor, I have what Sir wrote, and he basically, all he wrote was a very disappointing term for Tejas. He needs to apply himself. I seriously took that to heart. My grades increased the following term, and my report card got much better. But as I said, I don't want to embarrass him, but I did spend a lot of time trying to think in terms of not just when I was in his term, but even subsequently, in terms of how I might continue to impress him. I mean, of course, he taught me how to play hockey because I'm a lefty, and lefties, couldn't play hockey very well, but Sir spent a lot of time, both when I was in prep school and subsequently in later years, but he was a marvelous hockey player in his own right. After that year, I went to senior year with the housemaster was Mr. J.K. Lal. I knew him better as an English teacher, but the one thing that I did have, one experience with Mr. J.K. Lal is I got a public whooping from him because one day a friend of mine, Milan Parekh, and I, we had bunked school and gone to watch a Clint Eastwood movie at Galaxy, and one of the Patawalas, snitched on us and told Mr. Lal, and Mr. Lal, pulled us out in the public, in the whatever the assembly meeting, and I got a whooping on that. But as an English teacher, it was really interesting. He used to always extol the virtues of English literature and talk about, Shakespeare and Dickens and Shaw and Ibsen. He used to always talk about Ibsen. And we never did any Ibsen in school, but in subsequent years, I actually read, some of Ibsen's classics, Doll's House, Peer Gynt, and I realized that he was actually a Norwegian-Danish writer who wrote everything in Danish. So not exactly English literature. I mean, it was translated into English. He could just have easily have talked about Tagore or Kalidas or Premchand, but I think he just liked to hear the sound of himself saying Ibsen. So we used to always hear him say Ibsen. So beyond the housemasters, I need to talk about, I put all this information in ChatGPT about other teachers. I've written about, my favorite teacher, my beloved Miss Badheka. I did a write-up on her. Sir was very gracious to include that as a part of his latest book. I put all the information about other teachers. A couple of other examples. Mr. Dalpat Singh, wonderful basketball coach. I had him for Hindi for a couple of years. But he also had a biting sense of humor. One day, at lunch, he was at the head of the table that I was supposed to be at, and I was a little late coming in for lunch. And I went and sat down without, paying my respects to him, good afternoon, sir, or excuse me. Anyway, he didn't say anything. Now, some of you will remember, we had servers, right? We call them butlers in the mess. We had a butler by the name of Pintu. Some of you might remember. So in the middle of the lunch, I wanted to get Pintu's attention, and I said something like, "Arey yaar, Pintu, thoda rice lana." Mr. Dalpatson looked at me and said, "Chalo, theek hai, tum bhuke to nahi rahoge. Guru ke liye time nahi hai, butler ko yaar bana diya." I had, some great experiences. Mr. Marwa obviously was a wonderful physics teacher that I learned a lot from. I didn't actually do very well in his class, but one thing that stayed with me is he was one of the first teachers that I had a discussion with on binary numbers, zeros and ones, which are obviously the basis for computer technology. And it turns out that is what I've been doing for the last 40, 45 years. I obviously put in a lot of information about the friends and colleagues that that I've had at Rajkumar College. It wasn't just the friendship, there were, people who were an inspiration, that were mentors that I wanted to emulate. And then obviously friends like Mr. Currimbhoy here, Kamlesh and Ashok, and our people from our batch, people that I wanted to emulate. Sir has written about Jayant Kaneria, who I looked up to as a leadership model. A very good friend of mine, Vakil, that I've written about, no relation, but a very good friend who was the best read. I mean, he used to read, books in 8th grade, and that I still haven't reached. But he was a very worldly person. Now, of course, he's involved in a lot of other worldly, spiritual things. Finally, the things I had to put for ChatGPT was some of the things that you get out of Rajkumar College. Right? After all the learnings, what the teachers give you, the knowledge.
Tejas, excuse me.
Hanji.
Before you conclude,
Yes.
if you do not mind, speak about Ms. Badeka.
Okay, I'll speak about Miss Badeka. Miss Badeka was my 5th grade teacher, and she was in Rajkumar College, I don't think more than 3 years. The reason, and what I wrote, the reason that she's my favorite teacher is she was very creative in the way she taught. And the 3 examples that I'll quickly mention that I had written about, because she could teach all subjects, right? 5th grade, or except for Hindi, Gujarati, she taught us everything. So, she could use the time period whichever way she liked. She spent one whole week reading Sherlock Holmes's mystery book, The Hound of the Baskervilles. That whole week, that's all she did. And she explained the cultural context, she explained the words, and she made it interesting. I mean, that's what, it had me, going to the library trying to get more Sherlock Holmes books. She divided our group. We had 20 people in our class. She divided us into 5 groups of 4. All 5 groups were named. Each group was named after a literary character. D'Artagnan, Hiawatha, Robin Hood, Ivanhoe. And we all did everything that we learned, we did as a project. We did it as a team. And so it was our individual marks counted, but also the team scores. But we did projects on, in those days, this is 1966, we did projects on, the space program. We did it on different kinds of agricultural methods, on forms of government. And this is 5th grade. And because it was a project, it just made it that much more interesting. And the learning, the way we learned, was so much more fun. Unfortunately, that structure, she could only keep for 4 or 5 months, and then I don't know whether she thought it didn't work or whether, she was asked to change it. And the last thing that she left me was, one day there was a word that, we couldn't find in our dictionaries, and so she explained a word from the reading, and she said, DEA, Dictionary, Encyclopedia, Atlas. And she said, if you have access to those 3 things, you'll never be at a loss for knowledge. And, I've carried that over the years. Of course, now with the internet, it makes it easy, but still the idea that you don't have to follow through on, your own thoughts, that there's a vast world of knowledge out there. So anyway, that was Miss Badeka. And unfortunately, she left, I think, the year after I finished 5th grade. She was married. She became a Mrs. Dave, and lost touch with her. I've been talking to people about trying to find her. But anyway, the last thing I want to say that I put into ChatGPT, because you have to still hear my whole speech, right, was after all the knowledge, that the things that you're left with, that you carry forward, are in 2 categories: values and habits. The values that I learned at RKC was obviously a love for the knowledge and learning, but respect for teachers, for respect for people who have a greater understanding of areas than you do, and respect for diversity of thought, diversity of the people that you meet in terms of their background or religion or thought. And I'm so glad to see that Rajkumar College is now a co-ed, because there were 50% of the population that obviously we didn't get to interact with, and I'm sure that if that had happened when we were there, not only our intellectual but certainly our social lives might have been more entertaining and colorful. Habits. And I'm talking about simple habits, right? Many of you, if you've seen you may have seen a Hollywood movie, a war movie where you see a drill sergeant, yelling at a soldier and saying, soldier, drop down and give me 50. That's 50 push-ups for some infraction that the recruit might have done. When I was at RKC, we had our own version. Some of you will know. Utbes. What in English we call squats. We had to make a kan pakdine chhe te utbes karwano to squat. But some teachers and prefects used it quite liberally. I got most utbes from Mr. Love Kumar, and that was really odd because I was never in his house. And he never taught me any subjects, but for some reason I would always get into trouble with him. And then some prefects used it very liberally. In fact, some of them, when they called my name, mara haath automatically hum kaan upar jayega. I knew I was going to get in trouble. I think by the time I was in 9th grade, my thigh muscles were like stone, But as a habit, I do an exercise routine in the morning, which is mostly, just full body exercise. One of them is a squat, which I still do. Of course, I can't not pakadva padta, which is a good thing. But, simple things, right? I always learn to carry a handkerchief. It's gotten to the point where I carry it even when I'm going to play games. My wife has to say, "Tu pool ma jai che, tu su karvano rumal thi su clean karvano swimming pool ma." But and I learn to always keep my shoes shined if I'm wearing dress shoes. We use sir and madam, right? And that's more common here. It's a way of showing respect to people, but it's I'm sure you'll agree that we don't see that much in the U.S. except if you are in the South where I am. Texas in the South, they use that. They say sir and ma'am. I can't say madam because it has a different connotation, and I would get my butt whipped if I called a lady a madam. But ma'am, it's a form of respect. So these are, values and habits. I put all that in ChatGPT, and now you're going to get the speech, right? So I said, okay, now I want the speech. What should I say? And the AI engine came back and said, just tell them. And now, by the way, I have to say, I live in America. ChatGPT was developed in America. So, when ChatGPT gives me a long speech, it is full of American idioms and slang. So anyway, what it gave me was this. It said, just tell them that you are one lucky son of a gun. So from a proud RKC old boy, I'm happy to say I'm one proud son of a gun. Thank you for your attention.
The house open for speakers if anybody wants to talk about Miss Cooper or anything. Since he mentioned Mr. Siddhan, this is a true story what happened. I think 25 odd years back, a friend of mine wanted to join the Tata Tea Estates. In the top man there was a distant relative, Samar Singh. And so we were going to the south, basically. We'd go to Cochin and the car would pick us up. We'd go to the high range club, spend a night there, and then the jeep would take us all the way up and things like that. It was splendid. I was quite excited. But first off was Bangalore. By that time, a rumor had gone around that Mr. Siddhan had died. Okay, in those days there was no mobiles and direct contact and all. So the hotel, I was at the club, I think. Century Club in that area. So we got hold of the telephone directory and looked up Siddhan. Finally hit upon Siddhan, And I said, we got to call Mrs. Siddhan and pay our condolence. So I called up, dialed. And then I'm hearing this familiar voice. Hello, hello. And I can't speak because that's Mr. Siddhan at the other end. So, see, who is this? I said, sir, Punjawala. Where are you talking from? Are you in Bangalore? Come over. We are in Koramangala. Then, of course, we went there, we had lunch. And that was the first time I saw a cat and a dog eating out of the same dish also. He was a good trainer. You know, you all remember Bambi. How Bambi used to wear glasses, you would make her sit and with a cigarette in the mouth and, things like that. And just a recollection. Anybody else wants to say a few words? Or the tummy is grumbling. Time for lunch. We have a little few more. Okay. May I request Amit, please? What is that? The President, Yogesh, please too.
Mr. Ayaazkhan, Tarik, and Tejas, and my esteemed fellow Arcasians. Unfortunately, as much as people think, I'm not a very good speaker. So let me just put you at notice that they get me to stand up and say things. However, I'm not good at all. But I would like to sincerely thank Mr. Khan, sir. What you talked about Aura and what I have been doing, it's all a doing of the whole team. I'm just there, as you said, a shepherd boy, but most of the work is done by the team. And very, very ably assisted by Amit and where's he gone? There he is. And Vinesh and the rest of the committee members. And in what we have done in various cities, we have various Arcasians helping us organize events and giving us new ideas about that. So it's, in other words, it's a team effort. And it's not, I'm not the only person. There are many, many people silently who help us get this work done. For today's program, I'm so glad that Tarik and Tejas readily agreed and came all the way from the US to address us. Thank you so much. And as always, when we have to have a program in Ahmedabad, we approach the ever-giving Joes to help us for a place to organize our program. Thank you, Joes. Not only does he give us the place, but he also sponsors the area without any charge. Thank you so much, Joes. And especially for today's program, we have had a lot of help, especially from Amit, Punjawala, Ashok Patel, Manish Shah, and Chandramoli. Chandramoli has actually come from Bombay to help also organize this program. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll just dwell on some of the things which we have done and what we are planning to do. So, as you all know, and where most of us are connected, we are connected through the WhatsApp group of several regional WhatsApp groups. And as Mr. Ayaazkhan said, we now have a special group for anybody who wants to say anything in it. Other than just being vulgar, I think everything goes. All your forwards can go in there, all your dreams can be put in there, no matter what. So please use that if you feel like sharing, Recently, about a month ago, we started being on social media. So we are now on LinkedIn, we are on Instagram, we are on, I'm not very good at these social media, but I think it is necessary to be on there. So we are there, and I would request all of you to follow us on social media and to share with your RKC friends and your friends otherwise as well. So that will keep us updated on all our ORA activities. This is, why do we have memorial lecture for Miss Cooper? See, most of us who are here because we studied in RKC. And the most important people in RKC were our teachers. And that is the reason why we come here. We learn so many things, like Tarik and Tejas mentioned. They have learned some things in their lives while they were in school from various teachers, and which is of use to them even today. So we are coming to that level where we, remember them. And as time goes on, we will find new ways to remember them. And that's what we are planning to do. And very soon we have Guru Poonam, which is next Sunday. So we are going to do a small clip about all the gurus which we have had in school, and we'll have it on social media. So something which will be very interesting to have a look at, Other than that, we have a business network of Aura, which is something which is growing slowly, but that is something who would like to network or who would like to grow their businesses with fellow Arcasians. I would suggest please join that. We are 60 strong membership now. Hopefully that will keep growing, A few things which we are planning to do is we are going to have a merchandising shop on our website, where most of our, like we have this label pin which we had today. So such other products we are going to put on that site, and please have a look at it. As and when you like, you can get those. And lastly, what we are going to do is, most of you have become holders of Aura membership card. This going forward, this membership card will entail you to various benefits. The first one which we have is that if any of you who has a child or a grandchild who wants to go to RKC gives us a 10% discount on the fees for Aura membership card holder, So that's what we are doing, but we are now going to go to fellow Arcasians who own businesses and approach them to give fellow Arcasians benefits with that card. So we have many Arcasians who are hotel owners, restaurant owners, business owners. In some way or the other, they will give us benefits, And then we will go to other organizations who will also be able to benefit us. So the best part now, which I must mention, is before we leave here, I have the pleasure of mentioning to you that one of our old boys, Pankaj Tatania, he is he is giving all of us pre-made pani puri which he manufactures as a gift for us to take home. Thank you, Pankaj. And I think with that I will conclude here. If anybody has any suggestions for Aura, please feel free to address it to me by WhatsApp or a call. We are always welcome to suggestions. Even if you have any criticism, please do that, Thank you so much.
Before we present some citations, may I request Amit to please read it out.
A year ago, we decided that these are the times that we should grab the opportunity to be grateful to people who have done well, be grateful to some of the staff members at RKC, and that started a bit of a process where we now have it like every event. We try and use the opportunity to acknowledge contribution from the staff, if at all, or from members of the Aura or members of the old RKCians who have done well in life, professionally as well as for the community. And so the first one I'll start with is Jose John. Presented in grateful appreciation to Jose John Verghese, the Old RKCians Association extends heartfelt thanks for your generous sponsorship of the second Miss Rati Cooper Memorial Lecture at YMCA Ahmedabad. Your support made this event a resounding success, providing a platform for intellectual exchange and fostering enduring friendships. We are deeply honored by your contribution and generosity, Jose. Thank you. Thank you, Jose. Thanks very much. Not yet. Presented a plaque of this nature to Mr. Ayaazkhan last year, and he says, I have to know who that person is. So, Tarik, over the years, what I read out is what you have become. Maybe over the years you may not have realized, but this is what you are, and we'll just try and put some words in what you are. So, here goes. This plaque is proudly presented to Tarik Currimbhoy for his extraordinary achievements as a scholar, architect, internationally acclaimed sculptor, educator, and philanthropist. Your artistic journey is a harmonious blend of classical training and contemporary vision. Your sculptures are a symphony of form and material. They are born from a profound reverence to nature's forces. Inspired by the timeless architecture of ancient structures, your creations are both modern and timeless, a testament to your ability to bridge the old and the new. You have soared to unparalleled heights in the realm of art and architecture. Your architectural designs and sculptures adorn public spaces, corporate collections, and private residences worldwide, bearing the indelible mark of a genius. The Aga Khan Scholarship at Harvard MIT Symposium and the Cornell Scholarship at the Pratt Institute are a testament to your intellectual and creative brilliance. Beyond artistic pursuits, your heart beats with a profound commitment to community. As the co-founder of Unlimited Art, you've opened doors of opportunity for physically challenged musicians and artists, empowering them to express their creativity and find a voice. The Currimbhoy Fellowship for Physically Challenged Girls stands as a beacon of hope, nurturing young talent and fostering a bright future. The Old RKCians Association is immensely proud to call Tarik Currimbhoy one of its own. Thank you, sir. Your unwavering pursuit of excellence, coupled with a compassionate spirit, serves as an inspiration to one and all. We celebrate your remarkable journey and extend our heartfelt gratitude for your enduring contributions to the world of art and humanity. May I invite Yogesh to present the plaque to Tarik, please.
I just want to say one thing, yeah? There is fiction to this. We all walk the same walk. We all cast the same shadow. We all enjoy the same life, thanks to where we began. And thank you.
The Old RKCians Association proudly honors this distinguished alumnus, Tejas Vakil, a technocrat, a social entrepreneur, and a committed public servant. Your academic journey is a testament to the strong foundation laid at RKC. With a BS in Chemical Engineering from the University of Madras, an MBA from the University of Iowa, and an MS in Computer Science from the Illinois Institute of Technology. You've consistently pushed the boundaries of technology and academics. Your career is a tapestry woven with leadership roles in global technology giants such as Dell, Compaq, and Tandem Computers, where you've excelled in general management, business development, sales, and marketing. As a serial entrepreneur, you founded and led multiple technology startups, demonstrating an uncanny ability to identify market opportunities and build successful businesses. Your impact extends beyond the corporate world. Your decision to run for the US Congress in 2016 as a fiscally conservative Democrat reflects your deep commitment to public service and your desire to shape the nation's policies. This courageous step underscores your belief in the power of technology to address societal changes and enhance people's lives. The Old Architects Association is proud of your entrepreneurial spirit, technological acumen, and dedication to public service. These serve as an inspiration and a source of immense pride for Arcasians globally. May I invite Punjawala to please present to Tarik.
Sincerely for being here. We expected a lot more people, and in that context, those of you who are here, extra special thanks to you. Also thanks to Tarik, Tejas, Mr. Ayaazkhan sir, to Jose, our ex-Ahmedabad chapter, Ora Subodhnath, who held it together for so many years here. We had some lovely functions while he was handling it also. I thought it deserves a mention. And thank you all ladies. We hope there was some more. And like I said, I wish you guys